Sally Hayes Walker. I don't have much. Haven't had the time to go to grocery shopping now that Harry's taken my car away. Let's find you two something to eat. My Mimi excavates a loaf of bread from the hills of the food coating the kitchen, counters, and island. I take it, wary, remembering the 2-year-old fermented grape juice she offered me last time I ate here, before my mom cleaned out the fridge while she wasn't home. I open it, noticing the date of expiration and the white powder on the bread slices that doesn't look like flour. Mimi, I say, this bread is moldy. No, I just had it the other day. I internally sigh. No, Mimi. I see my youngest brother slip out of the kitchen as she gets irate. For the troublemaker of the family, he sure hates conflict. I can't recall what she said after, but she bit my head off. I couldn't make her understand that the bread was no longer good to eat. It was enough that I let my parents and other grown family members deal with her pit bull temper. Do you want the light on? Are you sure? You'll ruin your eyes. You can't see it. You can't feel it. At first, you hardly even notice it, but soon it's painfully obvious. For some, time stops. They're stuck in one place while the rest of us orbit them, repeating over and over again. I have a family history of Alzheimer's on both sides of my family. My chances of not getting it are slim. I think about it a lot. It's probably why I hate when people repeat themselves, or if I repeat myself and don't even realize. I think about it even more when I'm around my grandmother, my Mimi. I've never liked coffee cake much, mostly because of the pecans that usually litter it, but I miss it now. If my family ever visited my mom's parents on the weekends, my Mimi would usually have coffee cake, little weenies, eggs, etc. for breakfast. One of my most memorable favorites for dinner was her spaghetti with meaty tomato sauce. She can no longer make either of those, can barely figure out how to use a coffee maker for that matter. I had known my great-grandmother and great-uncle had Alzheimer's for forever, but I wasn't sure if my grandma would. She'd always been a pack rat. My grandparents' house on Delaney Hills is filled with mountains of lipsticks and foundations she's never finished, panty liners, clothes from decades past that she can still fit into, and an abundance of food. Sometimes you could barely see the white tile countertops. She grew up in the Depression in Louisiana, so we never thought anything about it. It's immensely cleaner now that they have a helper from their church. An optimistic person would say that I should be glad to still have her, as different as she is now. But to me, it's more painful than having lost her completely, even more when I think of the effect it has on my whole family. My mother and I both said that if either of us get it when we want to die then, not wither away into nothing. I see it affect my grandfather the most. Do you want the light on? Are you sure? You'll ruin your eyes. Sometimes I feel like my memory is deteriorating. I don't remember plenty of things, but I remember every detail. Maybe I just think too fast. Being a waitress and possibly ADHD has exacerbated it. Or maybe it's my family history. My mom worries about it just as much as I do, if not more. I should be safe for another 40 years. Maybe. Do you want the light on? Are you sure? You'll ruin your eyes. During the most recent Christmas, we had just finished lunch. My grandmother took the leftover turkey carcass and put it in the kitchen. My family thinks nothing of it. It was normal for her to clean up after meals. I walk by her some minutes later. She's taking the meat off the bone and putting it into a white trash bag she has sitting on the counter next to her. In the past, she would have done the same, but put it in actual leftover containers. But I hold my tongue and leave the room, remembering the last time I tried correcting her. No one says anything about it until my family leaves later that night. My mom gets a text from her brother complaining that the leftover turkey is no longer edible. They end up throwing out the garbage bag turkey. Do you want the light on? Are you sure? You'll ruin your eyes. My freshman year in college, I lived at home, spending a few nights at my grandparents' to help my grandfather keep an eye on my grandmother. I would come home after my late class and stay till morning, getting breakfast and leaving. If you were to ask her now, as she brings up every time she sees me, I used to just come over for breakfast. She even calls me Phyllis on occasion, my mom's name. Do you want the light on? Are you sure? You'll ruin your eyes. One evening, my mom leaves the house in a hurry. The church helper had walked out of the house for a moment, and my grandmother wouldn't let her back in. She didn't remember who the lady who'd been helping her out for months was. My mom had to go unlock the doors. Do you want the light on? Are you sure? You'll ruin your eyes.